On my take tonight, I'd like us to play a game. It's called Spot the Difference. Remember this primary school exercise where you were given two similar looking images, but you were asked to spot the difference between them? Good. Ready? Let's go. Now, I want you to spot the difference between these two statements from the SRC made less than a month apart. The first was made to the healthcare workers when seeking an enhancement of their risk allowance on the 27th of January this year, and the second was made regarding the MCA's car grants on the 9th of February this year. To the doctors, the SRC said, and I'd like us to read it together. It said, the SRC Act 2011 requires the Commission to take into account the principle of equity and fairness of pay across the entire public sector. Consequently, an enhancement of risk allowance must take cognizance of the financial implication, including potential ripple effect in the health sector and the wider public sector, end quote. Now, it also goes on to say, rather, that the Commission has taken note of the fact that the county governments have confirmed unavailability of funds to meet the proposed enhancement of risk allowance to the MCAs, to the doctors. Now, to the MCAs, on the 9th of February, this is what the SRC had to say. Taking into account the principles of equity and fairness and affordability and fiscal sustainability, the SRC hereby reviews the car loan benefit as set earlier to a transport facilitation benefit in the form of a car grant. The COG has stated that the car loan facility for the Speaker and members of County Assembly has already been budgeted for in the current financial year. Further, the COG has indicated that the conversion of the car loan to a car grant will not affect expenditure ceiling. The SRC has taken into account the COG's confirmation of availability of 4.5 billion shillings to convert the car loan facility to a car grant. Now, can you spot the differences between these two statements? First, the county governments could not find a budgetary allocation for risk allowances for health workers in January, and now, less than a month later, they have the provision for car grants for MCAs. Also, I'm not clear about the statement that the car grant will not affect the expenditure ceiling. Well, perhaps not for the county governments, but for the taxpayers, that is you and I. You see, the grant may be free for the MCAs, but someone else has to pick up the tab. Guess who? Also, isn't it curious that this comes a short while after the President reportedly made a directive regarding this issue, and also shortly after ODM leader Raila Odinga all but promised the MCAs the car grants, while still stating it was not a bribe to the MCAs to push the referendum bill, yet the Kisumu MCA told him to, quote, give them the car grants and consider the rest sorted. And isn't it also rather strange, or a rather strange coincidence, that this recommendation from the SRC came shortly after Priscilla Nyakabi, whom I can only call a supporter of the BBI process, assured MCAs at the very same event that ODM leader Raila Odinga was at, that the issue of the car grants was a done deal, reminded us of the President's directive, and that they were just waiting for the processes to follow from the SRC. Folks, isn't it interesting that the SRC, in this very short span of time, has met with the Council of Governors, who've rather quickly assessed their budgets and confirmed the availability of funds for this? And isn't it also interesting that these car grants are only available to the MCAs during this current term and not those of the next term? Coincidentally, when these very MCAs hold the key to the referendum in their hands, why not for those who will come after 2022 or 2027? Ladies and gentlemen, the creation of the SRC was necessitated by the mischief of legislators setting, adjusting their remuneration, perks and benefits, and doing it for their own benefit at the expense of Kenyans. It is supposed to be an independent office, free from influence from any other arm of government, or even the mere appearance of it. Now, as to whether it is still an independent, or rather whether it is still as independent as it ought to be, with respect to the car grants issue, I can only say this. If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, then you can finish the statement. And that's my tick.